Alright, hey guys, what's up? Welcome to ETSK Tutorials, and this video is going to be a very quick, the quickest possible introduction that I could think of to the new Unity 4's Mecanim animation system. So this is just going to be scratching the surface and basically just going to be the first place that you should start when it comes to Mecanim. So of course there's a lot more to learn about Mecanim than what's going to be going on in this tutorial, but yeah, this is supposed to just be a good place to start. So anyways, the model that I'm going to be using in this tutorial has come from the Unity Asset Store, and it is the Maze Element Ice Golem by Andres Oliviela or something like that. So anyways, just giving credit to the person who made the model that I'm going to be using for this episode. So yes, let me first start by showing you that the project that I'm going to be using as an example. So when I press play, the only thing that I can do is walk forward, and my player is pretty slippery. We can definitely fix that, but I wanted it to be a slow acceleration just to demonstrate the Mecanim animation system and how it's going to look. So yes, so that's pretty much the whole gameplay. I can't go backwards, I can only go forwards, just like that. So let me show you what the script looks like. So I have the script, and the script is called run script. It doesn't really matter what you call it, and that's not the window I'm looking for. This is the window that I am looking for, and I want to blow it up just a little bit bigger so that you guys can see it. So first, let's quickly just go over what this script does and how it works. So first of all, we have a variable called run speed, and this is a float, and right now we have it set to 5, but basically this is going to be the number of units per second that's going to be the maximum speed of this particular player. Next is speed damp, and basically this is going to be the number of seconds that it's going to take for our player to reach full speed. So right now I have it set to 0.5, so it's going to take 1/2 second to reach full speed starting at 0. The next variable is a private variable because we don't want to show up on the inspector, because we need this variable in the code, but we don't actually care about editing it. And this is the speed damp v variable, and v stands for velocity, and this is just for the smooth damp function. If you don't know how a smooth damp function works, don't worry about it. Basically, it's just taking a float variable and smoothly moving it towards your target number, whatever you want it to be, and the float velocity variable just make sure, or is just a variable just to make sure that it is in fact smooth. The next variable is once again a private variable because we don't need to edit this in the inspector, and this is the current speed variable, and it's the current speed of the player because we can't use the variable run speed. We got to use a variable called current speed so that current speed can reach run speed and go back down to 0, so it'll fluctuate between 0 and the value of run speed. The next variable I have called the golem animator, and it is of type animator. So if you are familiar with the previous animation system from Unity, you will know how you used to be able to save your animations in a variable called animation. I think it was of type animation. So you would use that variable, and you would save basically a component of a game object that could switch through and switch in and out different animations. The system is still kind of like that, except we're going to use an animator, which is a component, and then the animator component will take an animator controller from the project, and basically that's kind of like a material, but like, so let's use materials as a metaphor. If an animator controller was a material, then a texture would be an animation. So an animator controller can take multiple animations and put them all into one package and specify how those animations are going to behave together. And we're going to save it inside of a variable so that we can reference it from within inside of the script. All right, now we have a simple if-else statement inside of the function update loop. Now remember, function update means that it repeats every single frame. So if input.getAxis horizontal is larger than 0.1. So basically this means that if we are pressing either D or right, or the right arrow, or on a controller if we're holding down right. So basically this means that we're pressing right. And then so if we are holding down D or right or going right, then we are going to current speed equal mathf.smoothDamp current speed, run speed, speed damp v, and speed damp. So this is the mathf.smooth damp function that I was talking about earlier, in case you were unfamiliar with what a smooth damp function does. So first of all, smooth damp is going to return us a float variable based on all of these conditions that we gave it, and we're going to save that inside of the variable current speed. So let's take a look at the first condition, or the first parameter that we give smooth damp, and that is current speed. So basically we're giving it the number where we are right now, and then the next variable, run speed, is our target variable. So that's what we want the variable to reach smoothly. So that's the target. And then smooth damp v, this is just where we put our velocity variable just to make sure that everything stays smooth. Don't worry about this. The smooth damp function is going to handle this all on its own. The only thing you have to do is give it the variable, and smooth damp will do the rest. And then smooth damp, the variable, this is the approximate number of seconds that it's going to take this variable and have it reach the value of this variable. And then we have an else statement, which basically means that if we are not holding down right, then we are going to run this line of code. And this line of code is once again another smooth damp function, and it's pretty much identical to what's going on up here, except instead of having our target be run speed, our target is 0. So basically if we're not holding down the right key, we are going to slow down to a speed of 0. Now that we have affected our current speed variable with these 4 lines of code here, we're going to run this line of code here, which is transform.position.x plus equal current speed times time.delta time. So transform, we are affecting the transform that is attached to the game object that this script is attached to, and then we are going to affect just the position, so its position in world space, and then we're only going to affect the x parameter of that, and then we're going to plus equal, so we are going to affect it relative to the value that it currently has, and then current speed times time.delta time. So the current speed, this is how fast our player is currently moving, and we need to multiply it by time.delta time so that it's moving at a speed depending on actual time and not the number of frames per second that your computer is running at. So basically this is a number that's always, it's always going to be, let's see, 1 over the number of frames per second that your computer is running at. So chances are that this is going to be a really, really small number that we multiply against current speed just to make sure it's current speed per second, basically, is what that all means. So everything here basically just controls the player moving to the right. Or I guess on the computer screen it's more this way. This is actually my left because the computer is mirrored for me. But anyways, the next line of code, and this is very important when working with the animator, this is the type of line of code that you're going to want to use in whatever your game, however your game works. This is going to be how you're going to communicate with the animator and make sure you're playing the animations that you want. So unlike the previous animation system, what used to happen before is that basically in code you would tell the animation component which animation to play, what speed at which to play that animation, and all these other, just basically everything about animation was controlled through code. You would trigger all of the animations through code, and the animator was basically just where the animations were. But now it's a little bit different. Now basically we just give variables to the animator, and then the animator handles the animations. So all we need to tell the all that we need to tell the animator in this script is what our current run speed is. Actually, we need to change this to run. I have it set to run speed. I need to set this to current run speed. Or current speed, not current run speed. Whoops. So all we need to tell the animator is what our current speed is. So we have Golem animator, and actually let me jump, or I guess I'll jump back there. I'll jump back and forth just a couple of times. So we have Golem animator. So this is the animator that we're going to be affecting, and we have it assigned in a variable that we are going to assign inside of the inspector. And then we are going to use a function called setFloat. So this is a function of the class animator. So we are going to set the float of the animation, and the particular float that we are going to be setting, excuse me, is run speed. And then the value that we are going to assign to run speed is current run speed. So actually, I guess I don't think I've actually made the animator yet, have I? No, I haven't. So actually, instead of run speed, let's call this running. We'll call it running speed, just so that we don't get it confused with the variable up here. They are separate variables, and basically this is the reason why I put it inside of parentheses. Well, the reason why I put it inside of parentheses is that this parameter needs to be a string, and in order for it to be a string, you need to put it inside of parentheses or use a string variable, but for our case, it is much easier to just use parentheses. And then the actual name of the variable is running speed, and we will create that variable inside of the animator and set it to be a float. And then we are going to assign to that variable the value of current speed. So I think you guys probably get that by now. So let's move on to the next step. And let's see, I guess the next step is that let's take a look at our Golem character and figure out what we need to do with this Golem character. So if you import this particular model that I'm using, you can see that it is right here inside of the asset folder, and then it is inside of a folder called player, and then it's inside of a folder called Golem, and then here's the model that we have here. Here's the mesh of it. Here's the avatar. So basically this is the armature and other settings. Basically, I don't want to say that it's limited to just the armature, but basically it's the armature of your character, basically the bone structure of your character. And then here are all of the different animations. And the ones that we're going to be using are idle, walk, and run. So let's select our Golem character. So you got to select that little box up here. And then let me move my window down just to make sure that you guys can see it. And I'm going to select rig. And then I'm going to make sure I select generic. By default, it's going to be set to legacy. Or I think it's going to be default set to legacy, but if it's not set to generic, set it to generic. You can also set it to humanoid, I believe, but because we're not switching or swapping out this model with other models, we might as well leave it with all of the setup that it already is. So go ahead and just set it to generic. And then the root node, we're going to, I believe we want to set it as Ice Golem, and then we're going to hit apply for that. And then let's go into our animations, and let's first take a look at idle, and let's see. I think I actually used the wrong one. Let's go back to rig. Instead of Ice Golem, actually I think it's BIP001 pelvis. Let's try that out. I think that's actually the root node that you got to use. Basically, if your animations are appearing in the wrong place and things are kind of just jumping around the map, or your character is just not animating, this is one place that you got to check and just fiddle around with the settings. Just leave it on generic and then just switch this out until you find the proper root node that will give you the right positioning of your character. So let's now click on idle and hit play. And as you can see, he doesn't really do much. I can't even, yeah, he's just barely moving. Actually, let me move my window so that you can see the animations going on just a little bit better. So yeah, this is the preview of the animations right there. So actually what we're going to do is we're simply going to select loop pose and then hit apply. Now, of course, you can affect the settings and you can bake into pose, and you can, there's like a cycling system, and there's a lot of really useful things for affecting your animations in here. But for our case, we don't really need to get into those right now. We're just going to stick to the very basics and just explain the very basics of how this system is going to work. So once again, I'm going to select the walk animation, and then I'm going to select loop pose and hit apply. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the run animation, loop pose, and apply. And that should pretty much be everything that we need to do from there. I will go back to it later if, in fact, I messed something up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag and drop the golem on top of the player capsule so that it is a child of the player capsule. Then I'm going to select my player capsule and make sure I turn the mesh renderer off. And now the golem, he's a little bit, he's laying on his back right now, which is okay, because I believe it's okay. Well, I'll come back to it in a second if it isn't okay. I think I'm going to need to move him up a little bit. I think. Actually, what I can do... Oh, wait, that's right. You guys can't see it. Let me go back here. So, wait, let me just double check, see if you guys could see what I was doing. Okay, so you could see that I dragged and dropped the golem on top there. But there's the golem guy. He's laying on his back. I scaled him up a little bit so that he is about the size of the capsule. Let me turn the capsule back on so that you can see it. Okay, I made him a little bit taller, but for this case, it doesn't really matter. I guess I'll shrink him down a little bit. But what I want to do is actually I'm going to rotate him. Whoops. I thought I could hold down. All right, let's Control Z that and rotate around, let's see, rotate around X 90. Whoops. Not 900, 90. Nose is itchy. All right. And let's make sure his feet are touching the ground. All right, that's good. And let's lay him back down on his back because I think that his animations are going to fix him. So anyways, let's now go here to our assets folder. So let me go ahead and drag that up just a little bit more so that you can see it good. So here we're inside of the project window. We're going to take the asset folder and we're going to go to create. And actually you can't see very well, so I'm going to go over here and select it like that. And now when I right click on my asset folder and go to create, I'm going to go down to animator controller. And now I'm going to rename it golem animator, animator controller. Perfect. All right, so that is the golem animator controller. And let's go to the golem, and as you can see, by default, we already have an animator component attached to the golem character, which I have selected, as you can see. And you can see under the parameter controller, we have none. So we're going to take the golem animator, and we're going to drag and drop it right there as if it were like a material or something. I guess it's a little different than a material, but you get the point. It's basically taking an object from the project window that if you change this here, it will change every game object that you put it on. So it acts like a material in that particular way. So with the golem animator selected, let's go over, I guess I already have my animator window set up, but let's just say that I didn't yet, and let's take the animation window out of there too. We're going to go up to window, and then we're going to select animator, and I personally like to have my animator down here like that. You can put it anywhere that you want and you feel it works best for you. So I'm going to drag that over, and then I'm also going to drag that over so that you can see it. And I'm going to select the golem animator, and actually let me drag it over a little bit more so that we have a little bit more room. And basically this is the animator, and right now it's pretty much a blank slate. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to add the parameter, and we're going to add a float, and we're going to call this running speed. And let me actually go back into the code and just make sure that's, oh, whoops, there's two N's in running. Okay, just got to make sure that those are both the same, exactly spelled exactly the same, capitals and everything. And then the next step is that we want to go back to our golem character, and as you can see, we have all of the animations listed right here. So we're just going to drag and drop each of the animations in there, and let me move them around a little bit more and just make them look good. All right. So we have idle, walk, and run, and as you can see, idle is orange because it was the first animation that I dragged in there. So that means that it's going to be the default animation. If you didn't drag idle in there, you can right-click on it and select Make Default, which I meant right-click, whoops, Set as Default, just like that. So I'm going to go back to idle and set that as default. Now, what we need to do now that we have all of this set up is we're going to right-click on idle, make transition, and click on walk. And then we're going to click on walk, make transition, click on run. Now we're going to click on run, make transition, select walk, make transition, and then select idle. So basically, we want one of these arrows going back and forth in between the two of them like that. So now let's first select this arrow here, the arrow going from idle to walk. And then while we have that selected, our inspector window is going to turn into this, where we have information about which transition that we have selected. So one of these arrows is a transition. So right now we have the idle to walk transition selected. And then we have a preview window, which is very important. And I'm going to drag it down just a little bit more so that we can see more down here. And then we have a timeline. And as you can see, as I drag it, so here's the idle animation. You can see he moves just barely. And then here we can see the transition. So I actually want a longer transition. So I'm going to drag and drop that over there. And I don't want the transition to be longer than the walk animation itself. So I'm going to drag it back a little. And I'm going to drag it back like this, and then it'll snap to the leftmost wall here. And then let's drag and drop the cursor and see if it looks more like something I want. So it's a lot slower when he to start walking, so I kind of like that. If we want to see what it looks like in real time, actually I have it selected at 50% time, so let's set it to 1 and see what it looks like in real time. So that's a pretty good transition, I think. Yeah, I think that's like as good as I'm going to get it for now. And then here below our timeline, this is very important. This is the conditions. Now, right now we have it set to exit time. So basically what that means is that as the idle animation ends, it'll move to the walk animation. And we don't want that. We want it to be based on whether or not our character is moving. So we're going to select exit time, and we're going to switch it from exit time to run speed. And just like an if statement, so it's a condition. So just like an if statement condition, we can say less than or greater than. And since we are going from idle to walk, we're going to do greater than. And let's just do 0.1 just to make sure that we are just in general moving whatsoever. So we are all set with the transition between idle and walking. So now let's go back over here and let's select the transition between walk and run. So what we're going to do with the transition between walk and run is, first of all, we're going to adjust the timeline until, oops, I want it to be there, until it looks good. So we're walking and transition into running. I think that looks pretty good. I want it to be an even longer transition, actually. Will that look good? Let's just give it a try. All right, walking, running, walking, running. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And we're going to, once again, select running speed greater than. And this time, this is kind of a variable that we're going to have to go back to multiple times to see if we like it. So right now, I'm just going to take a guess, and I'm going to assume 3 will look good. I think that will basically be once he gets up to a speed of 3, and right now, actually, let me go and select my capsule and see what the value is. So I have run speed set to 5. So if it is 3/5 to its max speed, then it will start running. So we can adjust that later to see if it looks good. So we want it to be set up like that. So now we have all the animations set up to bring our player up to speed. Now let's do the animations to bring our player back down into no speed at all. So we're going to select the transition going from run to walk. And then let's head over to our inspector. And once again, let's just drag and drop that way over there, probably even more over. And let's just see. Yeah, actually, let's try affecting it even more. I just want to make sure there's no weird side effects. And there is a little bit of a weird side effect. Let's make it a bit of a quicker transition and drag that over. And that looks much better. I think that looks good. So we're going from run, he slows down into a walk. So we're going to change exit time from running speed, and now this time we're going to do less than. And now we want it to be once it gets to less than 3. And so now we need to go from walking to idle. And once again, let's just drag and drop that way over. Let's just scroll through it really quickly just to make sure it doesn't have any weird side effects. And then we're going to go to running speed, less than, and then let's have him start slowing down once he gets less than 0.8. I don't know, I'm just kind of throwing a number in there and just hoping that it'll work. And let me just click clear. Okay, good. I just saw an error, and I just wanted to make sure that I had all of my errors fixed. So I think we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and give that a save and hit play and just see what happens. That is not what's supposed to that's not supposed to happen. So let's figure out what we got wrong. So we got that connection set up. I believe the problem is probably going to be within this root node. So let's apply it to that and see what happens. That's not quite working either. Let's try ice golem. Maybe that's the root node we need. I don't know. Let's try that. That's not working. Let's see. I guess let's try none. I think none will make the character, yeah. None is going to make the character fly to like actually let me play it and then pause it, and then I'm going to double click the golem, and as you can see, the golem is really far away from where we are supposed to be. So let's go back to our ice golem, and oh wait, let me not or pause the game there. Let me figure this out. All right. So maybe let's just keep choosing different root nodes until this works. Really, I guess that didn't work either. Let's figure out what's going on here. Do I have the variables named the same? I think that might be the problem. The variable golem animator of run script has not been assigned. That's what I forgot to do. Okay. So we go, yep, all right. Thank you. Good thing it was a simple thing that I broke. But anyways, this is a key step that I forgot to set. So let me actually zoom into the script to make sure that you can see it. Let me zoom in even more. So here we have the run script that is attached to our capsule. which is invisible at the moment because, as you can see, let me move my mouse, the mesh render is turned off. So as you can see, our golem animator is set to none. So to fix that, let me make this there, okay? So to fix that, actually what we're going to do is we're simply going to take this golem character, because this golem character has the, oops, wait, there, has the animator object on it. So this whole component right here is the variable that we want to save. So we're going to go to capsule, we're going to go to golem, and we're going to drag and drop it on top of the golem animator just like that. And now I got a feeling that the game is going to work. So let me actually go, and I probably want to set that back to ice golem. Let me just click on the animations, and if they're okay, let's just get the animations looking good in here. And then if they look good inside of here, then they will most likely look good inside of the game. Yep, that looks good. All right. So now let's give the game a run. And okay, we need to take our golem and we're going to rotate him 90 degrees that way. Will that look? I don't know. We got to line the character up and we got to lower him down. So let me actually, whoops. There we go. Let's lower him down. Like, actually, I think he needs to be like actually on the floor like that. So yeah, okay, he needs to be up a little higher. So every armature and model is different, and sometimes they're rotated in weird ways. There's probably a better way to set this guy up, but I'm not quite familiar with this model, and I'd have to spend some time messing with it. But as you can see, now our system is working. So once he's up to full speed, he goes into a run. So I mean, you can pretty much just see him transitioning between idle, walking, and running. So yes, so if I were to say take the capsule and make it so that it takes us, we're going to change the speed damp variable to 3 so that it takes a long time to get up to speed. So we're going to start with walking and then slowly move back, or slowly move all the way up to running. We're up to like full speed, so I'm going to let go. I'm not touching the keyboard, and he slows back down to 0 and then goes into his idle animation once he slows all the way down. All right, we're good. All right, so yes, that is the very basics of how the Mecanim animation system works. There are a lot more advanced and complicated and really cool things that you can do with the Mecanim animation system, but this was meant to just be basically the quickest and simplest first step, because I remember when I first started using the Mecanim animation system, I didn't know where to start. So hopefully this will be a good starting point for you guys, and hopefully you guys found this helpful. So yes, I guess until my next episode, oh wait, wrong button. Until my next episode, I will see you guys later, and keep making games.